Wow. It is very good and to be here with you. As Scott said, I was asked to speak for the Spanish congregation this morning, and then with circumstances in his voice, I'm preaching here now. And the topic that I was asked to speak on was the family, and by Mothers United. And they pray, and their series is on the family. And so in that, I was going to start because by speaking and mentioning the incident that happened in Appalachia High School in Georgia. There are some, every year, every Sunday, we could pause and have an extra time of prayer and lament because there's so many tragedies going on. Shootings, tragedies in Sudan, all around the world, here in the States and stuff. But this particular one stood out to me because the incident happened from a dysfunctional family. And there was a tragedy that happened where, as you know, 2 students, teachers, people, awful tragedy that happened. And it calls for a moment of extra consideration and prayer, because Madres Unidas was formed to pray specifically for kids, for children. We had the regular Wednesday night prayer meeting. We had the Friday night women's meeting that was prayer. But Monday nights, Madre Unidas was started specifically to apply, to bring in that mothers, children, grandmothers, and people could bring in their kids to be prayed for. And so I remember this whole backside here of the church at the times when it started, and kids, and it was for hours, and the kids would come, and some willingly, some not so willingly, but they would be prayed for specifically and talked to. And so this kind of tragedy that happened, and happened here in El Sol, is something that Madres Unidas was trying to address, to prevent. How do we react to it? What do we do for it? And so I want to say that this incident, before I go, is something that where we need involved in the whole thing that is involved in this was the fact of bullying. And this church, Scott, Sarah, we don't want bullying. That's something to stop, and we need, but that doesn't only happen in schools, it happens at work, it happens everywhere, in many places where there's bullying. But we want to help, and we want our kids, young people here, again, from standing here from the pulpit, please be sure that kids, people that are around you, you protect them. Protect this from bullying, from doing. And then the other thing that I want to express is that there's an element in this of but for the grace of God, go I. And I want to, that's the key element right almost for me right now in this part. There before the grace of God go I. My family. This church family. Are there? It could have been one of us. There has been tragedies that have happened. And how do you control a 14-year-old? How do you control a parent that's there? Oh, it's complex. And far from me to be able to give you answers. But you know my story. You know how this can be a very personal lament. There, but for the grace of God, go I, go we, go us. And who of us here can say that I am free from anything like this at whatever age you are right now? I could not do something similar. Different degrees, different things. But pain, separation, I mean, unimaginable the consequences of this. And it happens to Christians and not Christians. It happens in schools, shootings, in churches everywhere. It can happen. And how do we respond? But they're in there a lament. There but for the grace of God. And when I look at my own heart, and Paul said I'm the chief of sinners. He knew his heart. God is the one who fully knows my heart. But there's moments where, what have I been capable of doing? Who am I? And I've had my moments of breaking. And so, from that, so there's a sense of who am I to speak? Who am I to speak to you guys? There's people here who know more about this issue, the complexity studied. There's people here that have addressed and stuff. Who am I to speak? It's the grace of God that I'm here to speak with you. And then this involves, in all of these things, involves physical health. And I have my physical health needs. I've got my medicines. So I take my medicines for physical health, and I go to doctors. And, but here's the other. There's mental health. And I take medicines for my mental health. And I go to therapists and counselors at times. And so there's people who say, oh, no, no, I don't go to therapist. I don't go to a counselor. I don't take medicine, whatever. I'm here to stand for you. All of this requires taking care of our bodies. And as we take care of our bodies, but then we got to take care of our minds, mental health. And where would I be without my medicines? I could be dead. I'm diabetic. And thank God that there are medicines today that I can take that have kept me alive, that years ago I would be dead by now. But there's also mental health medicines that I take that keep me going right now. And thank God that He gave the wisdom to doctors to make the medicines that keep me going and go to the adjustments. And so, where would I be without my medicines? And then, where would I be without Jesus, the Holy Spirit and God? Because I'd still have my choices to make or to take them or not. And so, let's have a moment to just pray and reflect. Lord, the mystery of what happens in life and how it happens and why is there, always will be. And how do we respond to a tragedy like that happened in the family, in the school, and the people in that town of Appalachia, and the families that were involved? Oh God, have mercy, comfort, strengthen, and may there be wisdom, discernment in all that is done and happens. But I lament and cry over something like this that's happening, and it's happening all around here. And just pray for your peace, for your comfort, for your strength. In Jesus' name, amen.
As you can see, the reading today is from the book of Psalms, chapter 133. Psalms 133, the whole chapter. Starting at verse 1. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion, for there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore.
This is the verse that governs the series that is being done by Madres Unidas. They do this every September, and is the voice, of the unity and harmony in a family. Proclaims the gospel. And Mireya, who's in charge, told me, emphasize the word proclaim. Emphasize that as the fact that unity and harmony proclaim the gospel. And so, as I was looking at that, and I mixed, and I was, working on translating this for the Spanish. But let me just read it to you, a commentary that I came across on this. My favorite. One of my favorites, for a while the favorite, C.H. Spurgeon. And so here is a Psalms for Everyday Living. Somebody has abbreviated his commentary and of the different Psalms as they go through. So here's what Spurgeon says about Psalm 133. Christian unity is good in itself, good for ourselves, good for the brethren, good for our converts, good for the outside world. Loving unity. Unity among God's people is best expressed by loving one another. Two word pictures, verses 2 and 3, describe genuine love. Like precious oil flowing down one's face and clothes, pure love spreads to everyone, regardless of their social and economic standing. Christian affection knows no limits of parish, nation, sect, or age. Our love should also be like the morning dew that extends from Mount Hermon to distant Zion. Genuine love refreshes us and extends far beyond our own borders. As a pastor Spurgeon knew the realities of division in churches and the need to be of one heart and one spirit. He extended love to others who held a different theological position. This love and commitment to unity enabled him to associate and work with D.L. Moody and the Quakers. Christian love enables us to unite with fellow believers when differences could cause division. So, different love and Christian unity is a sweet fragrance. Lord, how your people need to be united in love, regardless of the color of their skin or their economic and social status. Help your people to be a model in a divided and hateful society by truly loving one another. Let those who mingle with be aware of the refreshing fragrance of Jesus in us. True love, harmony, is something that is a sweet aroma. And everybody, atheist or not, loves when there's unity and harmony. You go to been to places where you see families together, playgrounds in Russia, in other countries and places I remember seeing, they're having fun. They're enjoying each other. And you can sense it when it's genuine. But man, you can sense when there's pain and division. Also, you can do that. But the Bible holds to that it is something that is wonderful to have unity. It is wonderful. And so, in John 17, 20 to 23, let me stand here, and because I have it in Spanish here. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am just as you are in I and I, them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one. In them, I in them, and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me. That's proclamation. That por el mensaje de ellos, that the message that unity proclaims is a message to the world, that the world may know that you have sent me. A theological concept. God sending his Son is said by reflecting unity. And then the fact that the unity might be a perfect unity. That the unity might be as you and I are united. And then again, so that the world will recognize that you have sent me. Remember the song, they will know that we are Christians by our love. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, that was a song that was just sung all the time. They'll know we are Christians by our love. And that's what Jesus is saying here. They will know we are Christians by our love. And so it's a unspoken, if you will, where it doesn't need words. People can sense it. People can do that. But having Jesus, so we see in the Old Testament, and there are many more Psalms. In the New Testament, there are many more petitions. But Jesus himself, before he's going to die, the John 17 prayer is considered one of his, one of the major prayers. Because he's praying for his own disciples, for us future disciples, and that are coming. So after that prayer, in that prayer, even at that moment, that after he prayed that, soon after, that Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, in Matthew 20 to 28, you have that Jesus, is that, okay, there. In Matthew 20, 28, okay, okay, there it is. Matthew's, okay, no, I'm sorry, I'm Matthew 20, I'm sorry, 20 to 28. There's a, okay, here we go. Matthew 20, I'm sorry that I gave the wrong reference right there. In Matthew 20, verses 20 to 28, after 3 years that Jesus has been with his disciples, and this is not too many hours after he had prayed that prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, then it says that in verse 24, starting in verse 20, then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to Jesus with her sons, and kneeling down, asked a favor of him. What is it you want, he asked. She said, grant that one of these 2 sons of mine may sit at your right and at the other at the left in your kingdom. You don't know what you are asking, Jesus said to them. Can you drink the cup I'm going to drink? We can, they answered. And Jesus said to them, you will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared for by my Father. When the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the 2 brothers. Here is a mother. This is the mother-in-law coming in and saying here, and these men, Jesus is in his 30s. So these 2, John and his brother, are in their 30s. And she, believing that Jesus is going to establish a messianic kingdom, she went up and asked them, Jesus, please give my 2 sons a place of favor in your government. Please give them favor. And Jesus, when the disciples heard that she had done that, they were indignant. There's one verse, they were furious at the 10 were furious at those 2 for having done that. They were saying, why? They wanted it. There was division. There was division. Even after having spent 3 years with Jesus, gone with him, seen him, at that moment, there was furious division, 10 against 2. How in the world could you do that? And they, jealousy? We could have gotten there first. Where's my mom, my dad, asking for that request? There was no harmony at that moment. The other is in Philippians chapter 4, verses 2 and 3. It says there, I plead with Euodia and I plead with Syntyche to agree with each other in the Lord. Yes, and I ask you, loyal yokefellow, help these women who have contended at my side in the cause of the gospel, along with Clement and the rest of my fellow workers, whose names are in the book of life. Here it is. Paul is talking and is saying, right now in Philippi, there is a division between these older ladies who have worked with me for decades. They have contended with the gospel. And the disagreement is such that Paul has to rewrite them and ask, ladies, please come together and agree in the Lord. This wasn't a moral issue. It wasn't like one had done something moral. It wasn't something theological. You have to assume it was the disagreement on how and why or what to do. They came to agreement and they couldn't speak to each other. And Paul, it's come to him and he's asking for them to agree, and he's asking for a third party to intervene and help them resolve this issue. So in the midst of ideal situations, you will say, people working for the Lord, there's disagreements that can happen that are not harmony in there. And then we have the Garden of Eden. I mean, what can you say to that one? Perfect environment. Choice was given, right? But you had a perfect environment, and choices were made that brought in evil. And then, at that one, you had fratricide, a brother killing another brother. I mean, you know how unusual that is? It happens. But that is. So, it's evil has come in by choices. Disharmony, disunity has come in a way that impacts and is bringing tragedy to the world. And that's the mystery. So those of us who, man, how come we having such division in our world, in our places? We can be comforted by the fact that every situation, every family, something's going to go wrong. And how we respond is crucial. Then is the other is that in Philemon 1:8 and 9, you have the incident here where Paul is writing to a fellow Philemon, and it deals with the issue of Onesimus, the slave. And in those days, a slave had no rights. And even in a poor country, I mean in Rome and those places, even a middle-class poor person owned a slave. They were like animals, beasts of burden. They had no rights. You fled their place, you could get killed. And so Onesimus fled his master at that there, Philemon. And Paul met him. Apparently, somehow, they could have been in prison together. Who knows exactly what was going on? But Paul writes to Philemon and is requesting that Philemon allow Onesimus to be released and freed. I mean, this is an unheard of request. How anybody, I mean, what do you mean? I mean, why should I release this guy? And he deserves to be punished, whipped, perhaps put to death for what he did. And so Paul, in arguing on this behalf, he says is arguing with him, he's arguing and saying, I know you, Philemon, for a long time, and it looks like because of me, you accepted Christ. And so you've been benefited from our relationship long term. And I have the age and the spiritual authority to tell you what to do. And Paul seemingly kind of expects, okay, if I really say to you, I have the authority to tell you, release him. But Paul says, but therefore, although in Christ I could be bold and order you to do what you ought to do, yet I prefer to appeal to you on the basis of love. I mean, all of you here, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever position of authority you have, whatever position of your authority you have, and there are moments where you exercise that authority and there's no if and buts about it. There are moments where you tell a 2-year-old kid that wants to run out on the street and throw in a tantrum, and you say, no, you can't run because you could get killed by a car. The kid doesn't know. You have moments of authority where it is that the core of anybody in authority is to appeal to love. Appeal to love. You can go that route to force people to do something, and with exceptions, but you get there. But overall, there's a famous saying, with the sword, you can bend my knee, but you can't bend my heart. And what you and I want, what you and you want, wherever you are, whatever position you have, young and there, and you still have somewhere, somehow, in work or whatever, you say, I can build, I can do it just on authority, and you know authoritarian leaders, business and all, you do it my way, they yell and swear at you if you don't do it their way, etc. But what you and I want is love. And build love. And so that, because when you go the authority, just use the authoritarian way, it creates, in the long run, very likely, it creates resentment. And one of the things was that what this could do is if Onesimus is saying, okay, the only reason I'm going to keep Onesimus, or do this is because of Paul, then it creates resentment against Paul. He's just telling me what to do, and it could channel against Onesimus. I had a fellow that was telling me how when he was a kid, he was beaten, really, and had a very sad, and so I kind of assumed that, I said, okay, so your dad and mom, oh no, he said, my dad and mom were out all the time working. They didn't really care what was going on. It was my older brother. He resented that my parents limited him by having to take care of me. And he would beat me worse than my parents would have. Because he was forced to do something, a resentment created, and it was taken out on him. Oh, he said, my brother resented and took it out on me, and he beat me worse than my parents would have. You don't want to create resentment that is taken out on some other people. You want to work out of love. Love creates more unity, more harmony. It lessens the chances of breaking. And then, and so, that to appeal to love, you have to realize, is that it presupposes a relationship between the parent and the child, between the person of authority and his followers. And so you got to build that relationship. You got to build. Every person that is a leader, father, mother, has to learn, has to cultivate that relation. And that unconditional, and that what is going through here, and what the theme is going through here, is a theme of I will love you no matter what. I will always love you. And you know that I care about you. That I care about you. Harmony, unity, is built on people who have trust each other, who begin, moments of doubt, moments and all. But you need, and that's why in a family, in a church family, it's absolutely indispensable that we pay attention, look, build relationships. That's why we have prayer groups. That's why we have small groups. That's why we have things, ways to know one another. And so, okay, how many minutes? Okay. And so I get to in situation moment, and this is something that talked about it, in doing the Easter Sunday. But Jesus, and how this is prayer and how things happen. But Jesus prayed for these disciples, John 17, 20, 22, that they have perfect unity, that they be able to, and prayed for them. Come back to the fact that when he was at the cross, Gethsemane, some hours later, some time later, he ended up at the cross, and the circumstances surrounding his getting there to actually being crucified. And so what we want is to tell our people, our kids, our family, whoever we are with, I love you as you are. As you are, not as you ought to be. As you are right now, I love you. Not as you ought to be. And that was me. Out of love, I won't let you cross the street without looking. Out of love, I won't let you do certain things because I love you. So it isn't there. But the attitude, the fact that a kid, an individual, an adult, a 60, 70-year-old adult needs to know that somebody loves me and I can love them. And that they love me unconditionally as I am, not as I should be. And so Jesus, look at this and what he was willing to do. After he prayed this, he suffered terribly at the hands of the soldiers. What did he do to the soldiers? In fact, when one of the soldiers, Peter, had cut the ear off of the soldier, Jesus put it back. Did a miracle. When did he mistreat a soldier? On that one, no. And yet they were beating him. They were mocking him. He was betrayed by his disciple Judas. He betrayed him. Judas betrayed him. Never forget that Jesus, having his authority, and knowing Judas was going to betray him, he still washed Judas's feet. Right? He still washed Judas's feet. Are you willing to wash the feet of your enemy? I mean, he was denied by his disciple Peter. I don't know him. He was abandoned by all his disciples, literally left to hang by himself. They left him to hang. I mean, that's literal. Hands off Jesus. We're not going to go in and try to protect them. He still died for them. He didn't walk away. He didn't wash his hands. Remember that Jesus on the cross, at any moment, he could have told the angels, get me off this cross. He had the authority and the power to tell, here, release me. And they would have come and gotten the released from the pain of the nails. And yet, he didn't die for them because they behaved properly. He didn't die, no. He died for them while they were still sinners. He died for them right after they had betrayed him, denied, abandoned his own disciples. And at that moment, his prayer was not answered. And even to this day, the prayer for his disciples, like you and me, is not answered because there's no perfect unity amongst us. In our faith. There's moments. So, and then the thought that explored is that for not only for his disciples, not only for the pagans that were around him, I mean, there for the disciples and the pagans, for all of them, Jesus, for them, love, not nails, kept Jesus on the cross. Think about that. He at any moment could have ordered the angels to come and free him, touch him, zap everybody around him. Love, not nails, kept Jesus on the cross. He was mocked by the crowd, and one of the criminals, if you are the Son, the crowd and the criminal was saying, if you are the Son of God, how is it that you don't liberate yourself? How is it that you could die on the cross? They were using, the Messiah dying on a cross. They were using theology against him. They were mocking me. Oh man, you say you're there, you can't get yourself off the cross. Love, not nails, kept Jesus on the cross. Jesus' prayer, what he did, Jesus' prayer was not answered in the circumstances surrounding his crucifixion. I mean, his prayer for unity, his prayer for harmony, his prayer that everybody get along was not answered at that at that cross. It was the ugliest expression of human turning against him, human evil turning against him. And he didn't leave. However, so his prayer was not answered. And for those Madres Unidas, for those of you who are praying for your kids and grandkids and all, continue doing that because he is still praying for us in heaven. Do you get that? He's not stopped praying for us. He's still in heaven praying on your behalf and my on behalf. He's still praying. And the Holy Spirit still moans and groans with us. They're moaning and groaning. Romans 8:27, that the Holy Spirit intercedes for us, still interpreting our prayers with groans and laments. We don't stop until we die, and maybe in heaven we still continue praying for the situations here on earth. But the concept is that love conquers. Love conquers. In that, I mean, there's so much to be, but just to say that when you have that the verse that Romans 8:28-29, there, nothing can separate us from the love of God. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. And that's what you and I try to do. Offer a style of living, leadership, of being a parent, whatever, that nothing can separate you from that, my love. And going back to that family that was tragic, and comfort and trying to bring comfort to the different families that deserve and there. But even to that 14-year-old, he needs to pay consequences. When the criminal was on the cross and accepted Jesus, today you will be with me in paradise. You're going to die, but I'm not going to spare you the extra hours of pain that you have. You're still nailed to that cross. There are consequences to what you did. And the pain is still there. So there are to be penance, and we need to consider that. But somebody, somewhere along the line, can come to that kid and say, you are loved. God still loves you. You are made in his image. And there's nothing that you have done that could separate you from his love. Nothing. Even going down to the depths in hell, people still love us. Freedom of, there's choice, and we can get into all the theology. Nothing will keep you from loving. And you are loved. And how can we communicate that kind of love to our families, to our kids, to our neighbors, the unconditional love. And then we overcome. A key verse of the Bible is Romans 12, is that we overcome evil not with evil, we overcome it with good, with love. No evil. We don't, tit for tat. No. Somebody has to break that cycle. And you and I are the people that can say, what was done was monstrous. But what is here? And you've done and I have done things, and that's why, therefore, for the grace of God go I. And you know yourself what you're capable of and have been or have not done. What it has done and what was done was monstrous. But God still loves me as I am, not as I ought to be. And in his love, he wants to transform you. The power of love is to truly transform. You and I, and people's lives can be transformed by the power of love. And that's our hope, and that's our eternal hope. Love will prevail. That's what we need to. Thank you. God bless.